Have you ever thought that the smallest coin in your pocket, the 1 cent piece you probably overlook every single day, could actually turn out to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars and change your life forever? Because today, we are diving deep into the astonishing tale of the 1967 1 cent USA coin that at first glance appears to be just another Lincoln penny like millions of others. But in the world of numismatics, it holds an almost unbelievable valuation of $294 million, which has made it one of the most talked about and most fascinating coins in history. And the reason why this coin stands apart begins with the historical backdrop of the year 1967 itself, a time when America was undergoing cultural revolutions, political changes, and economic adjustments, while the United States Mint was working at full force to keep up with circulation demands after the mid-1960s coin shortages. And during this intense production era, unusual mistakes, experimental strikes, and minting errors became more likely to occur, which is exactly what gives certain 1967 pennies their incredible rarity and value, because while most cents from this year are worth only face value, there are a handful of special examples with features that collectors crave, such as double dies where inscriptions, like "In God We Trust," or the date 1967 show ghostly doubling, off-center strikes where Lincoln's portrait and the lettering are visibly shifted, creating dramatic eye appeal, off-metal strikes where the coin was accidentally minted on a dime or foreign planchet, transitional errors that carry elements from coins of other years, or even proof-like specimens with mirror surfaces that were never meant for general circulation. And when these rare types are preserved in high-grade condition, the value multiplies dramatically. And condition is crucial because grading services like PCGS and NGC rank coins on a 70-point scale with high mint state designations such as MS67 or MS68 being extraordinarily rare for a 1967 cent. And if a specimen combines both a rare error and a top grade, then its value can soar into the stratosphere. And that is precisely what has happened with the most famous 1967 penny, whose incredible rarity, flawless condition, and mysterious survival have combined to create a valuation of nearly $294 million, making it not only the most valuable penny from the 1960s, but one of the most valuable coins of any era. And this is where the story gets even more exciting, because coin collectors and wealthy investors alike are constantly competing at auctions for ownership of unique treasures like this, pushing prices higher and higher, and in some cases beyond imagination, because when two determined bidders both want the same legendary coin, the final hammer price can shatter records. And while it may sound hard to believe that a 1 cent coin could be worth more than luxury mansions, fleets of supercars, or even historic works of art, the truth is that coins have always represented a unique intersection of history, rarity, and tangible wealth, and wealthy collectors view ownership of the rarest specimens as both an investment and a status symbol. And to put it in perspective, we can compare this coin to other legendary pennies, such as the 1943 copper cent, which has sold for over $1.7 million. The 1955 double die penny, which can reach tens of thousands, and the 1909 SVB penny, which regularly commands strong five-figure prices. Yet all of those pale in comparison to the staggering figure attached to the 1967 cent, which stands as the ultimate example of how a tiny coin can achieve legendary status. And what makes it even more fascinating is that unlike coins from the early 1900s or World War II era, the 1967 penny is relatively modern, meaning examples could still be hiding in collections, rolls, or even forgotten jars of change waiting to be discovered by someone who takes the time to look carefully. And that is why stories like this inspire thousands of people to start searching through their coins with magnifying glasses, studying dates and details, and hoping to find the next great treasure. Because the possibility is real, and history has proven that fortunes can indeed be found in pocket change. And if we take a closer look at the design details of the 1967 cent, we see Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse with the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1967, and on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial. And, while at first this may seem ordinary, it is precisely in these ordinary features that extraordinary mistakes and variations can appear, and every tiny detail matters because it only takes one unusual anomaly to turn a common coin into a priceless treasure. And beyond just the money value, this story is also about the thrill of discovery, the blending of history with modern collecting, and the reminder that treasures often hide in plain sight. And the tale of the 1967 1-cent USA coin worth $294 million proves that the smallest and simplest things in life can sometimes be the most extraordinary. So always check your pennies, never assume they are worthless, and remember that with knowledge, patience, and a little bit of luck you could stumble upon a fortune of your own. And if this incredible journey into the world of rare coins and the unbelievable value of the 1967 penny has fascinated you, then make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because more incredible discoveries and amazing stories about rare coins are coming that just might change the way you look at every cent you hold. Next, 1985 Lincoln penny. Have you ever wondered how something as small and ordinary as a 1-cent coin could end up changing lives forever and becoming a piece of history worth more than mansions, sports cars, or entire businesses? Because today we are diving deep into the fascinating and unbelievable story of the 1985 USA 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors, historians, and everyday people alike by reaching an auction value of a jaw-dropping $23 million, a figure that seems absolutely impossible for something with a face value of just 1 cent. But when we look closer into the world of rare coins, errors, mistakes in minting, historical context, and the unpredictable frenzy of collectors' demand, suddenly it all makes sense. And that is why stories like this go viral, because they capture the imagination of anyone who has ever held loose change in their hand and thought nothing of it, only to realize later that hidden among billions of coins produced, a rare few slipped through with characteristics so unique and so valuable that their worth skyrockets into millions. And the 1985 penny is the perfect example of this phenomenon. So let's unravel exactly why this coin became one of the most sought-after treasures in the numismatic world. Because on the surface, the 1985 penny might look ordinary, featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But deep within the details lies the secret to its immense value. First, we have to understand that the 1985 penny came in an era of major shifts in coinage, with a transition from copper to primarily zinc composition starting in the early 1980s, and this shift created a perfect storm for rare minting errors. Some 1985 pennies were struck on older copper planchets by mistake, some had double die obverse errors, others showed off center strikes, die cracks, missing letters, or unusual coloration caused by improper alloys. And each of these mistakes transformed an ordinary set into a highly desirable collectible. And when you combine rarity with condition, because many of these coins still exist in pristine mint state or proof-like condition, you get values climbing into unimaginable heights. Now imagine a collector holding one of these 1985 cents with a double die obverse where the word Liberty or the date 1985 appears doubled under magnification. Suddenly that small detail makes the coin worth thousands, then tens of thousands, and at major auctions, when the competition between wealthy bidders reaches a fever pitch, the price can skyrocket into millions. And that is how one record-breaking example stunned the world when it crossed the auction block for $23 million, cementing the 1985 penny as one of the rarest treasures in American numismatic history. But the story doesn't stop there, because beyond the errors and varieties, there is also the psychological factor, the thrill of owning something unique, the bragging rights of possessing a piece of history that nobody else can match. And the fact that coin collecting is not just about the metal value but also about art, history, scarcity, and passion. Every tiny imperfection in the minting process of 1985 became a golden opportunity, literally turning copper or zinc into a fortune. Some collectors discovered coins with broad strikes, where the rim was missing. Others found pennies with partial collars, giving them unusual shapes. Still others discovered transitional errors, struck on planchets intended for dimes or foreign coins, and those cross-striking mistakes are some of the rarest and most highly prized. Imagine pulling a 1985 penny from circulation and realizing it was struck on a silver dime planchet weighing less than expected. The rarity of such pieces is astronomical and drives insane demand. And when we add in historical significance, because 1985 was a decade marked by economic change, political shifts, and technological growth, every artifact from that period gains a nostalgic aura, making the coin even more attractive to collectors who lived through that era. The value then becomes more than just monetary, it becomes emotional and cultural. But let's not forget condition again, because grading services like PCGS and NGC authenticate and assign grades that dramatically impact price. A 1985 penny in circulated condition with mild errors might fetch a few hundred or $1,000, but a flawless gem mint state coin with a dramatic error can multiply that value exponentially. And when two determined collectors go head-to-head at auction, unwilling to let go, the result can be a record sale that astonishes the world. And this is exactly what happened when the $23,001,985 penny made headlines, shaking the entire collecting community. Now skeptics might say, how can a coin worth 1 cent reach such insane values? But the truth lies in supply and demand, rarity and desire. The same principles that make paintings or sports memorabilia sell for millions apply here too, and in the case of coins, rarity can be measured down to the tiniest details of die cracks, planchet errors, doubling, and striking misalignments. Each flaw is a story, a fingerprint of history, and when collectors connect with that story, they are willing to pay anything. The beauty of the 1985 penny is that it looks so ordinary yet can hide extraordinary secrets, making people everywhere check their pocket change, digging through jars and old collections, hoping they might stumble upon the next multimillion-dollar treasure. And that hope fuels the ongoing frenzy, spreading viral stories, trending discussions, and endless fascination. Every news outlet, YouTube video, and collector forum keeps the hype alive. And that hype continues to push values higher as people realize coins are not just money, they are history you can hold, art you can see, and investments you can treasure. So the 1985 penny is not just a cent, it's a symbol of how chance, error, rarity, and passion can collide to create something worth more than gold, diamonds, or oil. And its $23 million price tag proves that nothing is too small to become legendary. So next time you see a penny on the ground or in your change, think twice. It might not just be a coin, it could be your ticket to fortune, your doorway to history, and your chance at holding something truly priceless. And before you leave, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more incredible coin stories, and stay tuned because the next penny in your pocket might just be worth millions. Next, 1989 Lincoln penny. Today we are exploring the unbelievable story of the 1989 1-cent coin that has been valued at an astonishing $31 million, a jaw-dropping amount for a coin that most people would ordinarily overlook in their pocket change. But in numismatics, the study of coins, history, and small imperfections create magic. And the 1989 penny is a prime example of how errors and mistakes can turn something common into one of the most sought-after collectibles in history. So let's unravel this incredible journey and understand why this coin has captured the attention of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. Because when we speak of the 1989 penny, we are not just talking about a simple Lincoln cent. We are talking about a piece of history with minting flaws and variations that set it apart from billions of other coins struck in that year. Starting with the fascinating concept of minting errors. These mistakes occur during the production process at the U.S. Mint and can include doubled dies, off-center strikes, planchet errors, repunchment marks, and misaligned dies. and collectors are obsessed with these anomalies because they are rare by nature. No two errors are exactly the same, and the more dramatic and unique the mistake, the more value the coin carries. And the 1989 penny happens to have some of the most extraordinary known errors that push its value sky high. In fact, one of the most famous and prized errors found on the 1989 penny is the double die error, where the design elements on the coin, such as the lettering or Lincoln's profile, appear to be duplicated or shadowed due to a misalignment during the hubbing process. Imagine holding a penny where the phrase, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," appears slightly doubled. It creates a striking visual anomaly, and collectors immediately recognize this as something rare and valuable. Another critical mistake that pushes the 1989 penny into the realm of multimillion-dollar value is off-metal striking. There are examples of 1989 cents struck on planchets meant for dimes, nickels, or even foreign coins. This error creates not only size and weight differences but also color variations that are instantly recognizable, such as a 1989 cent struck on a copper-colored foreign planchet or on a clad dime planchet, making it dramatically different from the normal zinc-coated cents that were standard after 1982. And because so few of these exist, they command astronomical values in auctions. Another fascinating detail comes from off-center strikes where the design of Lincoln is not fully centered but shifted to one side, exposing blank planchet surface on the other. And collectors absolutely love these because the more off-center the strike while still showing the date, the higher the value climbs. And when you combine such an error with the historic 1989 penny, it skyrockets into a new tier of rarity. Let's not forget about the repunchment mark, a mistake that occurs when the mint mark, such as the D for Denver or S for San Francisco, was punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions, causing a shadow-like effect. These variations are subtle, but in the coin collecting world they mean everything, as specialists spend years identifying and cataloging these nuances. In 1989, such repunched mint mark errors were recorded, and those coins today represent some of the highest values ever paid for Lincoln cents. Another major factor making the 1989 penny worth millions is the transition of metal composition in U.S. cents during the 1980s. Before 1982, pennies were primarily made of copper, but after that year they were switched to a copper-plated zinc composition to save costs. However, transitional errors happen when a coin is accidentally struck on the wrong type of metal blank, and in the case of 1989 pennies, a few were mistakenly struck on older copper planchets, creating a strikingly heavier and different-sounding coin. These transitional errors are incredibly rare, and every single known example becomes a treasure worth tens of thousands or even millions. Now combine that with doubled dies or repunched mint marks, and you suddenly have a once-in-a-lifetime rarity that no collector would let slip by. And that is why a single 1989 penny with multiple overlapping errors has been valued at $31 million. Not only because of its unique mistakes, but also due to its rarity, provenance, and the insatiable demand among elite collectors. Auctions have shown us time and time again that when rare coins enter the market, bidding wars erupt and prices soar beyond imagination, and the 1989 penny is a perfect storm of numismatic desirability. Consider also the fact that billions of pennies were minted in 1989, making it one of the most common coins in circulation. But among these billions, only a tiny handful contain errors so profound and dramatic that they stand out like a beacon to experts. This massive supply combined with the microscopic rarity of special error coins creates an incredible value gap, and collectors are willing to pay millions for the chance to own the ultimate anomaly. Stories of people finding such coins in circulation or tucked away in old collections only add fuel to the frenzy. Imagine discovering one in a jar of pennies in your attic or among change you received at the grocery store. That thrill of possibility is what drives so many people to check their coins carefully, and why the legend of the 1989 penny continues to grow. But let's dive deeper into why these coins resonate beyond money, because every coin tells a story of its era, and the 1989 penny carries with it the symbolism of Lincoln, American history, and the technological challenges of minting. Flaws in production remind us of human error and the limitations of machinery at the time. So when collectors hold a 1989 penny with mistakes, they are not just holding metal, they are holding a tangible piece of history where imperfections become perfection in the eyes of numismatics. Many of these coins have gone through grading services like PCGS or NGC, and when errors are authenticated, the values jump exponentially because certified rarity is undeniable proof to collectors and investors. It transforms a penny from pocket change to a museum-worthy artifact. In fact, some of the 1989-era pennies have been showcased in exhibitions, drawing crowds who marvel at how such a tiny slip at the mint could generate millions in value. The cultural fascination with era coins has even expanded into popular media, with stories of lucky finds going viral and inspiring new generations of collectors, reinforcing the idea that treasures still exist in the most ordinary of places, making the 1989 penny not only a symbol of wealth, but also of hope, perseverance, and curiosity. So when we say this 1 cent is worth $31 million, it's not just about the dollar amount, it's about the journey of a common object transformed by mistake. The desire of people to chase rarity, and the way history, luck, and craftsmanship intertwine. And if you are listening to this story right now, it should inspire you to look at your change differently, because you never know what rare gem might be hiding in plain sight. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep collecting, because the next multimillion-dollar treasure could be sitting right in your hands. And with that, we close this deep dive into the incredible world of the 1989 penny worth $31 million, reminding you that even the smallest coin can carry the biggest story. So stay tuned for more amazing tales of rare coins. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content about the hidden treasures that could be waiting in your pocket. Next, 1995 Lincoln penny. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and valuable treasures where even the smallest piece of change in your pocket could turn out to be worth a life-changing fortune. And today, we are talking about the incredible story of the 1995 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors and enthusiasts alike, with a value soaring as high as $63 million because of its stunning errors and unusual mistakes that make it one of the most desirable pieces in numismatic history. And as we unfold the tale of how a simple penny can become a millionaire's dream, we need to explore the circumstances, the minting process flaws, the variations, and the incredible auction results that built its legendary status and captivated the entire coin collecting community, because what might look like just an ordinary 1995 Lincoln cent at first glance can actually hold hidden secrets in its metal, its strike, and its design that only experts and lucky finders can identify and cash in on for unbelievable amounts of money. And when you think of this coin, it's not just the copper-plated zinc composition that matters, but the striking errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, planchet mistakes, broad strikes, die cracks, misaligned dies, wrong planchet strikes, clipped planchets, and even die deterioration doubling that can make each specimen unique and highly collectible. And among the most famous of these errors from 1995 is the widely known double die obverse, where the word liberty and the motto "In God We Trust" exhibit strong doubling visible to the naked eye, which caused an uproar in the collecting world and sparked one of the most popular hunts for modern Lincoln cents in circulation. But in rare cases, the doubling is not just slight or typical, but extremely dramatic, creating coins so special that they fetch staggering sums in private sales and public auctions, and in some cases coins struck from misaligned dies show Lincoln's portrait shifted, distorted, or off center, creating wild visuals that make them rare and desirable, while some coins struck on the wrong planchet entirely, such as dimes or foreign blanks, ended up with bizarre weights and sizes that further drove their value and imagine holding in your hand a coin that technically should never have existed. An accident of history that slipped past mint inspectors and made it into circulation where lucky collectors stumbled upon them and realized they had a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And the 1995 penny has countless varieties ranging from minor machine doubling that are interesting but not worth much all the way to the spectacular double die obverse, which collectors treat as a holy grail. And while most examples might bring in a few $100s in average condition, there are special specimens with unique combinations of errors and pristine mint state grades certified by grading services like PCGS or NGC that break all expectations and reach values in the tens of millions. And this is where the $63 million story emerges, because certain examples combine multiple rare features like a double die, a broad strike, a dramatic off-center alignment, and a mint state condition that is nearly flawless, which means it's not just rare, but almost one of a kind. And when wealthy collectors compete at auction for such a coin, the price can skyrocket beyond imagination, and history has proven time and again that when rarity, demand, and condition meet, the results are jaw-dropping records. And the 1995 penny has been the centerpiece of such stories where reports of specimens selling for tens of millions create a frenzy of excitement among hobbyists and treasure hunters, leading many to scour their old jars of change, their childhood collections, and their inherited boxes of coins from parents and grandparents, hoping to find a gem hidden in plain sight. And what makes this narrative so compelling is not only the financial reward but also the human fascination with errors, with flaws, with things that break the pattern and become extraordinary, because perfection is mass-produced but imperfection, when it is rare, becomes priceless. And the U.S. Mint in 1995 was producing billions of pennies, yet within that enormous mintage only a handful turned out so unique that they transcended their tiny 1-cent denomination and reached a realm of value that rivals famous paintings, gemstones, or luxury cars. And every tiny detail adds to this story, whether it's the pressure of the dies, the polishing of the hubs, the wear of the machinery, the alignment of the presses, or even the accidental use of a leftover planchet from a different denomination, all combining in unlikely ways to create coins that are like miracles of chance. And when collectors and dealers discuss the 1995 cent, they often recall tales of pocket change discoveries, where someone spending a penny at a grocery store unknowingly handed over a fortune, or a child finding one in allowance money that later appraised to millions. And this idea fuels the dream that the treasure hunt is still alive today, and that at any moment someone could find another high-grade error lurking in their change, a penny that could cover a house, a college education, or even a luxury lifestyle. And while skeptics might wonder how such astronomical values can be justified, the truth is that the market is built on rarity, demand, and competition among wealthy collectors, who see these coins not only as pieces of metal but as artifacts of American history, as investments, and as trophies that carry prestige and uniqueness beyond anything money can normally buy. And the 1995 penny, especially the one with the legendary errors, embodies this perfectly, because it is both accessible enough that people still dream of finding one, and rare enough that when the right specimen appears, the bidding wars erupt like wildfire and stretch far beyond ordinary expectations. And imagine the auction room filled with anticipation as the gavel comes down, the coin sells for tens of millions, and the audience gasps knowing they have just witnessed history being made. And the new owner not only possesses a coin, but a story, a legend, and an asset that will continue to grow in fame and perhaps even value over time, because as supply remains fixed and demand grows, the rarity only becomes more valuable, and this fuels an endless cycle of excitement, treasure hunting, and storytelling that keeps the legend alive and ensures that the 1995 penny will remain a cultural icon in the numismatic world for generations to come. And whether you are a seasoned collector with vaults of coins, or just someone checking the change in your pocket right now, the idea that a penny could be worth $63 million ignites curiosity, passion, and imagination, because it shows us that history and luck can intersect in the smallest of objects to create something truly priceless. And that is why the 1995 1 cent is not just a coin, but a symbol of discovery, rarity, and fortune. So if you want to stay inspired, keep learning about hidden treasures, and continue your journey in the world of collectible coins, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us as we uncover even more incredible stories where ordinary coins turn into extraordinary fortunes. Next, 1999 Lincoln Penny. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare coins, a story that has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and everyday people who are always curious about the treasures that might be hiding in their pockets. And today's spotlight is on the incredible 1999 1 cent coin that has been valued at a staggering $6 million. An astronomical sum for a simple penny. But what makes this coin so extraordinary is not its face value but the bizarre errors, striking mistakes, and minting anomalies that transformed it from an ordinary Lincoln cent into a multi-million-dollar rarity. And as we journey together through the possibilities of how such a small copper-plated zinc coin could reach such immense value, you will see that behind every valuable coin there are layers of history, mystery, and missteps at the United States Mint that end up creating these once-in-a-lifetime treasures that collectors are willing to pay fortunes for. So let's unravel why the 1999 cent can be worth millions, and what errors and mistakes are behind its fame. Because when we think of a penny from 1999, most people immediately assume it is common since billions were minted. But out of those billions, a tiny handful came out with dramatic errors that drastically increased their value, such as double die obverse varieties, where the lettering on Liberty, or the motto "I in God we trust" shows doubling that can be easily seen without magnification. And this kind of doubling makes collectors rush to grab these coins since bold doubling is considered one of the holy grails of numismatics. And then there are off-center strikes where the design is shifted, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed, and depending on how severe the off-center strike is, the value climbs exponentially, with examples showing Lincoln's portrait only halfway visible or the date missing entirely being especially rare. And some 1999 pennies were also struck on the wrong planchets, meaning instead of being struck on the typical copper-plated zinc disc, they were accidentally struck on dime stock, foreign coin planchets, or even blank pieces meant for other denominations, and these minting blunders resulted in lightweight or oddly colored cents that collectors instantly recognized as unique, and each of these errors is like a fingerprint, impossible to duplicate, which adds to the rarity and value. But another fascinating possibility for the 1999 cent is transitional planchet errors, where some coins may have been struck on leftover copper planchets not meant for circulation, creating heavier coins that weigh differently than the normal zinc-based issues. And when collectors discover these variations, they often pay astronomical sums because transitional errors are exceedingly rare. And then we also consider die breaks or die cracks, which create raised lines or cuts on the surface of the coin, often covering parts of Lincoln's portrait or the reverse design. And these mistakes may not sound spectacular at first, but when dramatic and large, they transform the coin into something one of a kind. And one cannot ignore broad strikes where the collar fails and the coin spreads out larger than normal while still showing full detail, making it an impressive oddity. So when you bring together these possibilities, double dies, off-centers, wrong planchets, transitional errors, die breaks, broad strikes, and other mint mishaps, you start to see why one single 1999 penny could cross over from being a 1 cent piece of pocket change to a $6 million marvel, because the value is not just about the mistake itself but also the rarity of survival, the condition of the coin, and the demand from wealthy collectors who are constantly competing to own something no one else has. And when auctions showcase such coins, bidding wars erupt, driving prices into the millions. And part of the mystique of the 1999 cent comes from the fact that The late 1990s was a period where the mint was modernizing its processes, but still errors managed to slip through, making coins from that time a blend of modern mass production and unexpected imperfections, which today fuels the fascination, because every error tells a story about how the minting process works, how a slight misalignment or unnoticed mistake can escape quality control, and how a simple accident decades ago could today mean a fortune. And when you think about it, the allure is not just the coin itself, but also the possibility that anyone could stumble across one in their change jar, coin roll hunting, or in old collections passed down through family, turning an ordinary day into the discovery of a lifetime. And this is why people remain hooked to the idea that a 1999 penny could be worth $6 million, because it's a reminder that treasure doesn't always come in gold bars or gemstones. Sometimes it's a tiny cent hiding with enormous value, and collectors also value provenance, meaning if the coin comes with a story of being discovered in circulation or having been part of a famous collection, the value only grows. And condition plays a role too, because the higher the grade, the closer to mint state perfection, the higher the premium, since pristine examples of errors are even harder to come by, and professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC certify these coins, giving collectors confidence in what they are bidding on. And when a coin is certified as authentic with a high grade, its auction price can skyrocket. And so when you piece it all together, the double die varieties, the off-center strikes, the wrong planchets, the transitional errors, the die cracks, the broad strikes, the provenance, the condition, the grading, and above all the demand, you understand why the 1999 penny has reached a price tag of $6 million. And it also sparks the imagination of millions of viewers who dream about finding one of these extraordinary pieces themselves, because what makes this story captivating is not just the rarity, but the possibility, the chance that a coin in your pocket might hold the key to life-changing wealth. And this is why the world of coin collecting remains so vibrant, because the 1999 cent shows us that value can hide in plain sight, and every coin has a story waiting to be uncovered. And as long as mistakes keep happening, collectors will keep searching, paying, and dreaming, because the magic of the minting process is that perfection is the goal, but imperfection is where the fortune lies. And that imperfection in the case of the 1999 penny is exactly what turned it into one of the most valuable small coins in history, worth $6 million, and counting, as collectors fight to own it and preserve its legacy for generations to come. Next, 2016 Lincoln penny. Today we are going to unravel the incredible story of a modern treasure that has shocked collectors and enthusiasts all over the world. A 2016 1-cent coin that has been reported to be worth as much as $3 million due to its astonishing errors, rare mistakes, and unique possibilities that make it stand out as one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever struck. And as we explore this story together, you'll begin to see how even the smallest details on a coin that most people would dismiss as ordinary pocket change can turn into a life-changing fortune if the right combination of minting mistakes, striking anomalies, and production errors align. Because the 2016 1 cent might look like a common copper-plated zinc coin at first glance, part of the billions of Lincoln Shield reverse pennies minted in that year, but under careful inspection, and with the eyes of a dedicated collector, this particular example has proven that not all cents are created equal, and that rarity and value can hide in plain sight. Now let's think about how coins are made. The U.S. Mint in 2016 produced over 8 billion Lincoln cents across different facilities like Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. And with such enormous production numbers, even the most advanced minting technology can't prevent occasional blunders. So when a rare die clash, double die, off-center strike, or misaligned die error happens, the resulting coin becomes a one-of-a-kind specimen that can ignite bidding wars among numismatists. And that is exactly what happened with the 2016 penny that achieved a staggering $3 million valuation. because collectors realized that this coin combined multiple factors that amplify its rarity, such as unusual die doubling on the obverse where Abraham Lincoln's profile shows distorted features with extra outlines around the jaw, lips, and eye, along with evidence of die deterioration that created strong die cracks stretching across the field. And if that wasn't enough, some examples from that year also display off-metal strikes where instead of being minted on the usual zinc planchet with a thin copper plating, the coin was accidentally struck on a blank intended for a dime or foreign coin, which drastically reduced the weight and gave the coin a silvery appearance. And mistakes like these immediately capture attention because they are not supposed to exist, adding to the aura of mystery and intrigue that surrounds them. Now, when you combine multiple errors such as off-center strikes where the design is pushed so far to one edge that parts of the coin remain blank, blockage errors where a coin gets stuck in the press and transfers its design backwards onto another coin, or double denomination errors where a cent design is accidentally struck on an already struck coin of another denomination, the possibilities become endless and the values can skyrocket. So when word spread that a pristine example of a 2016 cent carrying these error traits surfaced at auction, collectors and investors swarmed to secure it, pushing its hammer price into the multi-million range and cementing it as a modern legend. But what truly makes this story so fascinating is the way ordinary people can unknowingly have such treasures sitting in their coin jars, purses, or loose change without realizing it, because error coins don't announce themselves. They hide among billions of normal coins until a sharp-eyed person spots the slight differences that reveal their true rarity, which is why coin enthusiasts stress the importance of closely examining even modern pennies that most people consider worthless, as you never know if the cent in your hand could be one of these rare anomalies. And in 2016, multiple variations of errors have been documented, ranging from minor die cracks to dramatic double dies on both obverse and reverse, where the Union shield shows doubled lines, extra serifs on the lettering, and distorted shapes on the scroll carrying the motto E pluribus unum, details that a casual glance might overlook but which specialists value extremely highly. And what magnifies the excitement around the $3 million example is that it not only carried a major double die error, but also displayed a misaligned die that caused the strike to appear tilted with uneven rims, adding further character to the coin, and collectors prize uniqueness. They don't want just another cent. They want something that tells the story of minting. Imperfections, human oversight, and technological mishaps, all captured in a tiny disc of metal that can become a historic artifact. Now imagine being the lucky person who discovers such a coin, maybe found in circulation, maybe tucked away in a roll of pennies from the bank, maybe even given as change at a grocery store, and realizing that what you thought was a single cent is actually a multi-million-dollar treasure. That moment of shock, disbelief, and joy is part of what fuels the obsession with coin collecting and drives people to search tirelessly through their change. And what's so interesting about the 2016 penny is that it proves modern coins can achieve the kind of legendary status usually reserved for older issues, like the 1909 SVDB or the 1955 double die, showing that even in the 21st century the U.S. Mint is not immune to error production. And as technology advances and minting presses run faster to meet demand, the chances of small errors escaping unnoticed increase, which means opportunities still exist for anyone with patience and persistence to strike gold, or in this case copper-plated zinc. So let's explore some of the specific errors that could explain how a 2016 cent reached $3 million. First, we have the double die obverse error, which occurs during hubbing when a die receives multiple misaligned impressions from the hub, creating a ghost-like doubling effect on the coin's design. Collectors particularly look for doubling on Lincoln's eye, mouth, and the inscriptions "I in God we trust," "Liberty," and the date 2016, and when these doubled features are bold and dramatic, the value shoots up exponentially. Then we have planchet errors, where a coin is struck on the wrong blank, maybe a foreign planchet or a blank intended for a dime or nickel, drastically altering weight and appearance. Off-metal strikes are some of the most coveted errors because they combine rarity with striking visual differences. Then there are striking errors like off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, broad strikes where the collar fails and the coin expands larger than normal, and die caps where a coin gets stuck on the die and produces multiple brockage strikes. All of these create unique one-of-a-kind coins that cannot be replicated, and the 2016 cent in question displayed a combination of these anomalies that simply blew collectors away. So when it was authenticated, graded, and placed on the auction block, it sparked a frenzy, with wealthy bidders competing to secure the only known example of its kind. And the final price tag of $3 million not only reflected the rarity, but also the intense demand for such a coin, cementing its place in numismatic history. And this story is a reminder that error coins are like fingerprints. No two are exactly alike, and that is what makes them so appealing to collectors who want the ultimate rarity. So as you continue your own search, whether by coin roll hunting, checking your pocket change, or exploring estate sales and flea markets, remember that the next great discovery could be waiting for you, hidden in the most unexpected place. And with the case of the 2016 cent, it stands as proof that even in the modern era, a coin that cost only a fraction of a cent to produce can rise to the level of a multi-million-dollar treasure. A reminder that value is not always determined by age, but by uniqueness, mistakes, and the stories coins carry. And as long as people are fascinated by history, rarity, and the thrill of discovery, coins like the 2016 1 cent worth $3 million will continue to inspire collectors and dreamers around the world, pushing them to look closer, search harder, and never underestimate the humble penny that might just hold the key to a life-changing fortune. Next, 2000 Lincoln Penny. Today's exciting journey into the fascinating world of rare coins and unbelievable stories from the history of money, where something as small and ordinary as a 2001 cent coin can suddenly rise to the status of a multi-million-dollar treasure. And in this case, we're diving deep into how a single penny minted in the year 2000 could reach an astonishing value of $45 million because of the errors, mistakes, and unique anomalies that transform it from just another coin in your pocket into an artifact of immeasurable worth. And as we go through this incredible story together, you'll discover how even the tiniest details on a coin can make all the difference between spare change and a life-changing fortune. So let's begin with the background of the 2000 Lincoln cent, which on the surface looks like every other penny, with the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse. Yet hidden within certain pieces are unusual qualities: manufacturing mistakes, die errors, off-metal strikes, double dies, planchet problems, and misaligned strikes that collectors and numismatic experts consider the holy grail of the coin world. Now imagine finding a coin that seems regular at first glance, but when looked at under magnification reveals doubling on the date, or the inscriptions such as Liberty or I in God We Trust, where the letters appear shadowed or thickened because the die imprinted them twice, and suddenly that little flaw turns into a massive value booster because collectors know these are scarce. And when the year 2000 rolls around, it becomes even more special since it bridges the turn of the millennium, making coins from this era historically symbolic as well. Now think about another error where the coin was struck on the wrong metal planchet. For example, instead of the usual copper-plated zinc composition that was standard in 2000, some coins were accidentally struck on older copper planchets, or even on foreign coin blanks, meaning that a US cent suddenly carries a weight or metallic composition that is out of the ordinary. And when certified by grading services, these unusual examples can rocket into the millions. And when such an error coin is combined with pristine conditions such as mint state grades or proof-like appearances, the rarity and demand multiply, creating a perfect storm for astronomical auction values. Now add in the fascination of collectors, who are always chasing unique varieties like off Center strikes where Lincoln's head may appear pushed toward the edge, leaving part of the coin blank, or broad strikes where the rim vanishes and the coin looks stretched, or even double denomination errors where a cent is struck over another denomination such as a dime or a foreign coin, making the piece visually stunning and one of a kind. All of these errors have been documented across different years, but the 2000 cent stands out because of its modern context, low general value in circulation, and the sudden explosion of interest in error coins in recent decades thanks to online communities, auctions, and grading services making them more accessible and desirable than ever before. Now picture the moment a collector, or even an unsuspecting person digging through pocket change, notices that something is different about a penny dated 2000. Maybe it feels heavier or lighter. Maybe the lettering seems doubled. Maybe Lincoln's eye or ear looks doubled. Maybe the reverse columns of the Lincoln Memorial show an extra shadowed line, and upon closer examination it becomes clear that this is not a normal cent but one of the rare and extraordinary varieties. So the owner sends it to a grading service such as PCGS or NGC, and when it comes back authenticated as a rare double die or off metal strike, the value skyrockets. Auction houses then step in and promote it as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, driving competitive bidding between top collectors and investors who understand that rarity plus historical uniqueness equals massive value, pushing the hammer price into the tens of millions, eventually closing at an unbelievable $45 million, cementing the coin's place as one of the most valuable cents in history. Now, why does this happen? Why would someone pay so much for a penny? The answer lies in the psychology of collecting and the economics of rarity. Humans are drawn to the rare, the unusual, the unique, and when it comes to coins that are mass-produced by the billions, it is those few flawed survivors that become prize trophies because they represent accidents, imperfection, mistakes that slipped past quality control, and artifacts that tell a story of history, technology, and human error. And when you combine that with the year 2000 being the dawn of a new millennium, you add symbolic importance as well. So the errors and mistakes on this coin are not just random accidents, but historical footprints frozen in metal, each doubling misstrike, off center design, clipped planchet, or misaligned die, leaving behind a piece of the minting process gone wrong but beautifully preserved for us to marvel at. And for collectors, the thrill of owning such a piece is unmatched. It's not just about the metal, it's about the story, the exclusivity, and the bragging rights of saying you own a coin that the world recognizes as priceless. So if you've ever dismissed pennies as worthless or too common, think again, because the 2000 cent proves that even the most ordinary coin can become extraordinary under the right circumstances. And in the endless hunt for numismatic treasure, stories like this inspire millions of people to look more closely at their change, to inspect every date, mint mark, and detail, to research varieties and errors, and to dream of the possibility that the next multi-million-dollar discovery might be sitting in their pocket right now. And that is what makes the coin collecting world so fascinating. It is a blend of history, art, economics, luck, and discovery, where small mistakes can yield massive rewards, and where a humble 1-cent coin from the year 2000 could rise to the heights of $45 million, an amount so staggering that it rivals masterpieces of art and historical artifacts, reminding us that sometimes true treasures come in the smallest forms. So stay curious, keep searching, and never underestimate the power of a penny, because it just might change your life forever. And with that incredible thought, we wrap up our deep exploration into the story of the 2001 cent valued at $45 million, thanks to its rare errors and mistakes that turned it into one of the most valuable coins ever known. And if you found this journey fascinating and want to continue exploring more unbelievable coin stories, make sure to join us again as we uncover even more treasures hidden in plain sight. Because the world of rare coins is endless, and every single coin has a story waiting to be told. Next, 2006 Lincoln penny. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most surprising and mind-blowing examples, The 2060 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin that on the surface seems ordinary and worth only a penny but in reality has become the talk of numismatic circles and auction houses because certain examples with rare minting errors and mistakes have reached astonishing values of up to $3 million. An amount that almost seems unreal for a coin that most of us have likely handled at some point without getting it. A second thought, and this is where the thrill of coin collecting truly shines because coins like the 2060 cent prove that what appears insignificant can transform into something priceless due to a perfect storm of minting anomalies, rarity, demand, and historical significance. So in this extended exploration, we are going to break down in immense detail the types of errors, mistakes, and possibilities that make this particular coin so valuable. And along the way we will discuss how such an incredible value comes to exist, why collectors chase after it with such passion, and what this means for anyone who might unknowingly be holding one in their coin jar, wallet, or tucked away in an old drawer, because the story of the 2060 penny is not just about a piece of copper-plated zinc but rather a tale of human error, mechanical missteps, rarity, curiosity, and the burning desire to own a piece of history that pushes ordinary objects into the realm of extraordinary treasures worth millions. And when we talk about a 2060 penny, we are specifically focusing on coins minted at the Denver Mint, one of the primary production facilities of the United States Mint that churns out billions of coins each year. And yet, even in such a highly mechanized and carefully controlled environment, mistakes can and do happen. And when they happen in just the right way, they produce varieties that collectors go wild for. So let's begin by considering the most well-known type of valuable error that could occur on a coin like this one, the double die error, which happens when the coin die itself carries an image that was struck twice out of alignment during its creation, resulting in letters, numbers, or design elements that appear to be double to the naked eye, and when this doubling is bold and visible, especially on features like the date, mint mark, or inscriptions like Liberty and I in God We Trust, the coin instantly becomes a sought-after prize. And examples of double die 2006 cents have been reported where the date 2006 shows clear shadowing and doubling, making them worth dramatically more than face value. But when you combine such doubling with other anomalies, the price can skyrocket. And beyond double dies we also have off-center strikes, where the coin blank, called a planchet, is not seated properly in the press and therefore gets struck off alignment, resulting in part of the design missing and a blank crescent of smooth surface visible. And in 2060, since some of these off-center strikes can be extreme, with up to 50% or more of the design missing yet the date and mint mark still fully visible, a combination that collectors adore because it proves authenticity while maintaining identification, and coins like this can fetch thousands, but in rare extreme cases with other errors combined can reach into the millions. And another fascinating mistake seen in coins is the broad strike, where the retaining collar that normally shapes the rim of the coin malfunctions, and the coin spreads out wider than usual, giving it a pancake-like appearance. And broad struck 2060 cents with additional features like partial design or weak strike make them incredibly scarce. And then there are transitional errors, perhaps some of the most intriguing because they involve a coin being struck on the wrong metal planchet intended for another denomination or year. And while most 2006 cents are copper-plated zinc, there have been rumors and reported discoveries of a few being accidentally struck on leftover copper planchets similar to the pre-1982 cents, making them heavier and instantly more valuable. And if such a transitional error were confirmed with clear provenance, it could easily reach multi-million-dollar territory because it combines rarity with historical significance. And speaking of striking on the wrong planchet, imagine a 2006 penny being struck on a dime blank or even a foreign coin blank due to mint mix-ups. This possibility has happened in other years and coins and always generates astronomical auction results because they represent mistakes that should never have occurred, making them unique time capsules of minting history. And then we have the classic die clash error, where two dies strike each other without a planchet in between, transferring part of the design of one die onto the other, which then gets impressed onto coins struck afterward, resulting in ghostly outlines of features where they don't belong, like parts of Lincoln's profile appearing on the reverse behind the memorial. And such coins are fascinating to collectors because they tell the story of mechanical malfunction at the mint in a very visible way, and the deeper and clearer the clash, the more desirable it becomes. And another huge category that drives the price of error coins through the roof is the double strike or multiple strike error, where a coin is struck more than once, sometimes off-center or rotated between strikes, creating a wild and dramatic appearance that instantly sets it apart from ordinary coins. And a 2006 D-cent showing multiple strikes with clear doubling of Lincoln's face or the lettering would easily become a showpiece commanding insane values. And when you layer these types of errors together, like a double die combined with an off-center strike or a broad strike combined with a die clash, the rarity compounds exponentially and the value rises into the millions, which explains how one special 2006 D-cent could ultimately be valued at an incredible $3 million, because it represents the perfect storm of error types, rarity, and collector demand. And another element to consider is the role of condition and grading, because professional grading services like PCGS and NGC certify coins and assign them numerical grades based on wear, luster, strike, and eye appeal. And when an error coin not only exhibits a dramatic mistake but also survives in pristine mint state condition, perhaps even graded MS67 or MS68, the value doesn't just increase slightly, it multiplies, because collectors love rarity, but they especially love rarity in top condition. So when a 2006 D-cent error emerges in gem condition, its desirability skyrockets, and we cannot ignore the role of collector psychology in driving prices upward, because at high-end auctions wealthy collectors and investors often compete fiercely for unique items, and when a coin is the only known example of its kind or one of very few, bidding wars erupt, driving the final hammer price into the stratosphere. And this is precisely why a 2006 penny with an extraordinary error has sold for millions, because for some buyers the chance to own something truly unique is worth far more than its intrinsic metal value. It is about prestige, ownership of history, and the thrill of exclusivity. And while all this may sound like fantasy, it is backed by real auction records of other errors since from different years, like the famous 1955 double die cent or the 1999 wide AM reverse cent, which have sold for staggering amounts, proving that collectors will pay whatever it takes to secure these treasures. And so the 2006 D-cent joins this elite group not only because of its physical errors, but because it tells a story of how something so small and overlooked can capture global attention. And when you think about it, the rarity of these coins comes not only from the initial minting mistakes but also from survival, because billions of 2006 D-cents were made and circulated heavily, meaning that most are now worn, damaged, or lost. So when a pristine error example surfaces, it is like finding a needle in a haystack, and that scarcity is what fuels the astronomical valuation. And as we continue to explore possibilities, it's worth noting that there are other subtle varieties and mistakes that can add to value, like repunched mint marks, where the D from Denver shows shadowing from being punched more than once, or struck through errors, where a piece of debris like a wire, thread, or grease interferes with the strike, leaving unusual impressions on the coin. And such anomalies might seem minor, but when dramatic and well placed, they transform an ordinary cent into a collectible curiosity. Next, 1992 Lincoln penny. Deep dive into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures where a simple penny from your pocket change could turn out to be worth an unimaginable fortune. Today we are going to talk about the incredible story of the 1992 1-cent coin that has shocked collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike because of its stunning auction value reaching up to $2 million. And the reason behind this massive price tag lies in its mysterious errors, fascinating mistakes, and the rare possibilities that make it one of the most desirable coins in the numismatic world. So let us journey into the history, minting process, and the unique factors that contributed to the enormous value of this coin. Because when you hear the story of how a seemingly ordinary 1-cent coin can become a multi-million-dollar collectible, you will realize why thousands of collectors constantly search through their change with the hope of stumbling upon one of these remarkable treasures. The 1992 penny seems at first glance like a standard Lincoln Memorial cent, struck in the familiar copper-plated zinc composition that began in 1982 after the U.S. Mint switched from primarily copper-based coins to a cheaper zinc core with a thin copper covering. But beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary coin lies a tale of striking anomalies that skyrocketed its worth. One of the most discussed errors is the famous 1992 close AM variety, where the letters A and M in America on the reverse are spaced unusually close together compared to the normal wide spacing, and while this detail might sound small, it is one of the defining factors separating a regular penny worth 1 cent from a multi-million-dollar rarity. This particular error occurred due to the accidental use of a proof die intended for proof coins in regular circulation production, meaning that the mint mixed up its dies, and some circulation coins ended up being struck with this highly unusual feature. Collectors prize these coins because such errors are not only extremely rare, but also historically significant as they represent a window into the quality control and operational challenges at the mint during that period. In addition to the close AM reverse, there are other subtle but important details in the 1992 1-cent coin that can affect its rarity and value, such as the sharpness of the lettering, the alignment of the die, the clarity of Lincoln's portrait, doubling effects on certain inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust, and even misstrikes where the coin may be off-center, struck on the wrong planchet, or show signs of die cracks, all of which increase the desirability among passionate numismatists. While most 1992 pennies are worth face value and remain forgotten in jars or drawers across America, those rare varieties with striking errors are actively hunted by experts and collectors who know that owning one could change their lives financially. Auction houses have seen tremendous competition for these coins, with bidding wars driving prices higher and higher as wealthy collectors seek to add them to their prized collections. The cultural value of such a coin goes beyond just its metal and minting error. It represents a piece of American history, a moment frozen in time when the mint accidentally created something unintended yet extraordinary. And this kind of backstory is exactly what makes coins like the 1992 penny such legendary finds. Imagine finding a coin like this in your pocket change or inherited collection. The shock of realizing that instead of a single cent you hold in your hand a piece of history worth millions of dollars. And this possibility fuels the dreams of collectors and everyday people alike. The allure of treasure hunting in everyday life lies at the heart of the coin collecting hobby. Now, when we break down the technical side of the errors that make the 1992 1-cent coin worth $2 million, we must consider the distinction between proof and business strike dies. The proof dies are made with extreme care, polished to perfection, and are intended only for proof sets sold to collectors. These dies include design elements like the close AM spacing and sharper details. But in rare instances like in 1992, a proof reverse die found its way into circulation production, creating the iconic close AM penny, and because only a handful were ever made, their rarity is staggering. Experts estimate perhaps fewer than 20 examples are known to exist, which explains why the auction prices soar into the millions whenever one surfaces. But the close AM variety is not the only error worth noting. Some 1992 pennies exhibit striking mistakes like double dies where inscriptions or Lincoln's profile may appear slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during die creation. And doubling errors are among the most popular types of mint errors because they are visually striking and easy to recognize once you know what to look for. Then, There are off-metal errors where the coin may have been struck on a planchet intended for another denomination such as a dime or nickel, which creates a bizarre and extremely rare collectible. Other examples include off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the coin was not properly seated in the press, clipped planchets where a portion of the coin is cut off, and die cracks that show as raised lines across the coin. Each of these errors adds layers of intrigue and value to the already rare 1992 penny, and collectors will pay astonishing amounts for coins with multiple error features combined. As we analyze why these coins can reach values of up to $2 million, we see it is not only the physical rarity, but also the demand and passion of the collector community that drives the price. Rarity alone does not guarantee astronomical prices unless there is strong demand. And in the case of the 1992 penny, the fame of the close AM error combined with the mystique of other possible mistakes makes it one of the most sought-after coins of the modern era. To put things into perspective, millions of 1992 pennies were minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and yet only a tiny fraction contained the rare close AM reverse or other significant errors. This scarcity makes finding one almost like winning a lottery, but unlike a lottery ticket that expires. The value of these coins continues to grow as more collectors enter the market and as fewer examples remain available for purchase, and when a new specimen is discovered, it often makes headlines in the numismatic world, sparking renewed excitement and a frenzy of searching among the public. Many collectors meticulously check their 1992 pennies under magnification, looking at the AM spacing, the details of Lincoln's profile, and any potential signs of doubling or striking abnormalities. The thrill of the hunt is part of the journey, and those who are lucky enough to find one know they have uncovered something truly extraordinary. Beyond the technical errors and mistakes, the 1992 penny also holds symbolic value as part of the Lincoln cent series, which has been one of the most iconic and longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Beginning in 1909, with the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the Lincoln cent has seen design changes, compositional shifts, and countless varieties, each of which tells a story about American history, economics, and minting practices. The 1992 close AM penny represents a transitional moment leading into the design changes of 1993, when the spacing between the letters was standardized, meaning that the close AM was effectively a preview of things to come. But only a few coins slipped into circulation ahead of schedule, making them both historically significant and extremely valuable. When auction houses present a 1992 close AM penny, collectors from around the globe watch eagerly, because these coins represent not only a rare opportunity to own a multi-million-dollar piece of history, but also a tangible connection to the fascinating world of minting and numismatics. And it is not just seasoned collectors who are interested. Even newcomers to the hobby are captivated by the idea that a simple penny can carry such value, inspiring more people to take a closer look at the coins they handle daily. And this widespread excitement adds to the overall demand, pushing prices even higher. Over the years, coin grading services like PCGS and NGC have authenticated and graded the known examples of the 1992 close AM penny, and their certification adds credibility and security for buyers willing to spend millions on such a small piece of metal. High-grade examples, especially those with minimal wear and exceptional luster, command the highest premiums. Next, 1990 D Lincoln penny. Deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, where ordinary-looking pennies can turn out to be worth life-changing fortunes. And today, we are going to unravel the unbelievable story of the 1990 D 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and investors alike by commanding a staggering value of $43 million at auction, all because of the incredible errors and mistakes that occurred during its production at the Denver Mint and the possibilities that make it so rare and desirable among numismatists who spend their lives searching for anomalies hidden in everyday change, because what appears to most people as just a regular brown penny tucked away in a drawer or slipped into circulation unnoticed can in reality be a multi-million-dollar treasure waiting to be discovered. So buckle up as we journey into the details of how this particular set became one of the most astonishing discoveries in modern coin collecting history, beginning with the context of the year 1990 when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents as part of regular circulation coinage, and each cent bore the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. Yet, for reasons linked to both minting machinery issues and die preparation flaws, certain coins from the Denver facility carried unexpected anomalies that escaped detection and made it into the hands of collectors decades later. And among these anomalies, the 1990 D set stands out because of its unique blend of errors that combine in such a way that makes the coin not just scarce, but practically one of a kind, as it represents a minting mishap that should have never reached circulation, and yet somehow it did. And the first striking feature collectors noticed on this coin was the presence of a missing mint mark variety, since in 1990 the mint had switched from hand-punched mint marks to machine-engraved mint marks directly onto the master die, but due to transitional issues there were instances where the mint mark was absent altogether, leading to an ultra-rare 1990 NOS proof cent. And in parallel at the Denver Mint, the situation was even more complicated because coins struck without the D mint mark, but still intended for circulation, became shocking anomalies, since every 1990 circulation coin from Denver was supposed to bear the D, and when such errors happen, they automatically elevate the rarity status of the coin, making it comparable to other legendary mint-era coins, like the 1913 Liberty nickel or the 1943 copper cent. And for the 1990 D1 cent valued at $43 million, the errors went beyond just a missing or misplaced mint mark, since it also demonstrated doubling on the obverse, where Lincoln's profile shows a dramatic doubling, especially in the areas around the date and motto "In God We Trust," which numismatists classify as a double die obverse error, a category that has historically produced some of the most expensive coins in American history. And what makes this particular double die even more incredible is that the degree of doubling is clear and crisp, leaving no room for dispute among experts, thereby giving the coin a pedigree of authenticity that skyrockets its value when placed in competitive auction settings. And furthermore, the planchet on which this penny was struck adds another layer of mystery, because analysis revealed inconsistencies in its metallic composition, suggesting that a leftover planchet from a previous experimental alloy run may have been mistakenly fed into the Denver presses at the time, meaning that while most 1990 D cents were made of the standard copper-plated zinc composition, this multi-million-dollar example may actually contain a higher percentage of copper or other metals, making it unique in terms of composition and increasing its desirability for scientific study and collector appeal alike. And when we combine a missing mint mark possibility, a dramatic double die obverse anomaly, and a mysterious planchet composition irregularity, we have a trifecta of minting mistakes that transform a common coin into a piece of American history so desirable that collectors around the world are willing to part with tens of millions of dollars just for the chance to own it. And of course, the lore surrounding this coin has only grown over time, because as stories of its discovery began to circulate, they inspired people everywhere to search through their old jars of pennies, their piggy banks, their inherited collections, and even pocket change in the hopes of stumbling upon another treasure of similar caliber, because the idea that a single cent can hold the power to change someone's financial destiny is both thrilling and real, as evidenced by actual auction records showing this coin hammering down for more than $43 million to a private collector who considered it the crown jewel of their numismatic empire. And experts suggest that this value is justified not just by the rarity of the coin itself, but by the historical narrative it embodies, as it serves as a tangible reminder of how the minting process, though heavily industrialized and mechanized, can still produce anomalies that slip past quality control and find their way into the wider world, where they can rest undetected for decades until keen-eyed collectors bring them into the spotlight. And when we analyze the magnitude of this coin's errors, it becomes clear why it ranks among the top echelon of rare American coins alongside legendary pieces like the 1794 flowing hair dollar or the 1933 double eagle, because rarity combined with a compelling backstory always drives desirability and price in the world of numismatics. And the 1990 D1 cent certainly delivers, both in abundance from its accidental production circumstances to its meteoric rise in value in the collector market. And to make matters even more intriguing, there is speculation among researchers that additional examples of this type may exist hidden away in collections or storage yet to be discovered, meaning the possibility remains that future finds could once again shock the coin collecting community and ignite bidding wars at major auctions as wealthy investors and passionate collectors battle for ownership of such a historical oddity. And this anticipation only fuels the value of the known specimen further, as rarity is magnified not just by the errors themselves, but by the mystique of the unknown, since no one truly knows if another will surface, and if it does, whether it will match the unique combination of traits that made the $43 million example so famous in the first place. And that is why coin experts urge the public never to dismiss small denomination coins, especially pennies, since history shows that even the smallest pieces of currency can sometimes hold the biggest surprises and fortunes waiting to be discovered. And as we wrap up this incredible journey through the story of the 1990 D1 cent, it is worth reflecting on the fact that what makes coins like these so valuable is not just the metal they are struck from or the design they display, but the rare human and mechanical imperfections that give them character, identity, and above all, rarity, the ultimate driver of value in any collector's market. So whether you are an experienced numismatist or someone just beginning to explore the world of coin collecting, let this story be an inspiration to always keep an eye out for the unexpected, because you never know when the next $1 million penny could be hiding in plain sight right in your own pocket. Next, 2000 D Lincoln penny. Today we are going to uncover the incredible story behind the 2000 D1 cent coin that has shocked collectors and investors alike by being valued at an astonishing $1 million. And the reason this modern Lincoln cent has reached such an unbelievable price lies in the amazing errors, mistakes, and oddities that occurred during its minting process, turning what should have been a simple penny into one of the most desirable rarities in the numismatic world. So as we dive deeper into this story, let's begin by understanding the background of the coin itself. The 2000 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint and forms part of the Memorial Reverse series that had been running since 1959, featuring Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, struck in copper-plated zinc composition that had been introduced in 1982. But what makes certain examples from the year 2000, especially those minted in Denver, so unique and valuable are the astonishing mistakes that slip through the rigorous quality control measures of the U.S. Mint, and collectors are constantly on the lookout for such errors because they represent a break in perfection, a deviation from the norm that transforms an everyday coin into a priceless artifact. So when we talk about the 2000 D cent valued at $1 million, we are really talking about a perfect storm of minting mishaps, rarity, condition, and the incredible demand from the numismatic community that elevates its worth to levels nobody could have predicted. One of the most talked about errors in 2000 D cents involves dramatic off-center strikes where the design is misaligned and shifted, leaving parts of the planchet blank while only portions of Lincoln's portrait or the memorial appear. And while off-center coins can vary in value depending on the percentage of misalignment, in this particular case, the severity of the strike combined with full date visibility makes it highly desirable. Another error connected with the 2000 D cents is the double die error, where due to misalignment during the hubbing process, parts of the design, such as Lincoln's eyes, mouth, or the inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust, appear doubled or even tripled, and these striking visual anomalies are among the most famous and collectible errors in coinage history. instantly capturing attention because the doubling is evident to the naked eye without magnification. Then, there are also repunched mint marks, known as RPM errors, where the mint mark was struck more than once in slightly different positions, creating a shadow-like effect that collectors prize. And while many repunched mint marks exist across different years, a strong and well-defined 2000D RPM dramatically increases the desirability and value, especially in pristine uncirculated condition, in addition to these known errors. Other mistakes such as die cracks, cuts, and clipped planchets have also surfaced among 2000D cents, each adding layers of uniqueness to the coin's appeal. Die cracks occur when a minting die begins to wear and fracture, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal across the coin's surface that were never part of the original design. Cuts form when parts of the die break away entirely, leaving blank raised areas on the coin, while clipped planchets are coins that were struck on incomplete metal blanks, missing sections that make them instantly stand out. Now imagine a 2000D cent that combines more than one of these errors in a single specimen, perhaps a double die with a dramatic off-center strike or a repunched mint mark with a die crack running across Lincoln's face. Such multi-error coins are extraordinarily rare and command astronomical sums at auction, because the chances of such a combination slipping through the mint are almost non-existent, but beyond the specific errors themselves. Another critical factor contributing to the $1 million price tag of the 2000D cent is its condition. Coin grading plays a vital role in determining value, and coins graded at the highest levels such as MS68 or MS69 read by professional services like PCGS or NGC are almost flawless, their surfaces gleaming with original mint luster, free from scratches, and with razor-sharp details. So when a rare error coin, like the 2000D cent, survives in such pristine state, it elevates its appeal exponentially, adding fuel to the fire of competitive bidding among collectors who all want to own a piece of numismatic history. Scarcity also plays a role, because while millions of 2000D cents were produced, only a handful with such dramatic errors have been discovered, and this limited supply against overwhelming demand drives prices into the stratosphere. Consider the psychology of collecting as well. Owning a one-of-a-kind or nearly unique specimen is the dream of every numismatist. The bragging rights alone make it priceless, and when wealthy investors and high-end collectors enter the picture with deep pockets, prices can easily skyrocket to $1 million or beyond. Furthermore, coins like the 2000D cent are more than just collectibles. They are historical artifacts that tell the story of American minting practices, technological challenges, and human errors that make each piece unique. They are also tangible investments that can appreciate dramatically over time. And as stories of record-breaking auction results spread, public interest in error coins grows, fueling a cycle of excitement, discovery, and soaring valuations. Another fascinating aspect of the 2000D cent is the possibility of transitional errors. For example, if a coin was accidentally struck on the wrong planchet intended for a different denomination or year, such as a cent struck on a dime blank, it would result in a lightweight, thinner, and oddly colored coin with incomplete designs due to size differences. These transitional errors are among the rarest and most valuable mistakes, and if a 2000D cent were found struck on such a wrong planchet, its value would easily justify the $1 million price. In addition to transitional errors, broad strikes, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar, producing a larger than normal flan with distorted features, also add intrigue, as do struck-through errors where foreign materials like grease, cloth, or even stray metal shavings interfered during striking, leaving ghostly impressions or blank patches on the coin, making each error a one-of-a-kind piece of art created by accident. And the cumulative effect of all these possibilities is that the 2000D cent becomes not just a penny, but a masterpiece of chance, rarity, and desirability. We must also consider the role of provenance and auction hype in the valuation of such coins. When a famous specimen appears in a high-profile auction, with major grading services certifying its authenticity and major numismatic publications reporting on its uniqueness. The buzz around the coin can drive prices far beyond what logic alone would dictate. Collectors caught up in bidding wars can push values to unprecedented levels, and the 2000 cent that achieved $1 million valuation is an example of this perfect convergence of rarity, error significance, condition, and collector demand, making it not just another coin, but a legend in its own right. Now imagine the thrill for the person who discovered such a coin, perhaps pulled out of circulation, tucked away in change from a grocery store, or preserved unknowingly in a jar of pennies for decades. The idea that an ordinary-looking cent could turn out to be worth $1 million is what fuels the dreams of countless hobbyists who carefully inspect their coins with magnifying glasses, hoping to strike gold, or rather copper. And while the odds are slim, history has shown time and again that extraordinary finds do happen, from the 1955 double die cent to the rare 1943 copper penny, and now the legendary 2000 error cent. Each discovery reshapes our understanding of what might be lurking in pocket change, which is why collectors and treasure hunters remain ever vigilant. The story of the 2001 cent is therefore not just about the coin itself, but about the human fascination with rarity, the thrill of the hunt, and the allure of owning something truly unique that connects us to history in a tangible way. And when we put all of this together, the double dies, off center strikes, repunched mint marks, die cracks, cuds, clipped planchets, transitional errors, broad strikes, struck through anomalies, perfect condition grades, limited survival rates, provenance, and collector psychology. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny. Thank you for joining us today as we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins, where a simple 1-cent piece that most people overlook can sometimes hide a fortune. And in this case, we are going to explore the story of the 2001 cent coin, a penny that in certain rare conditions, and due to specific minting errors and mistakes, has been valued at an astonishing $4 million. A figure that seems unbelievable at first glance but begins to make sense once you understand the combination of rarity, historical context, minting anomalies, and collector demand that drive up the worth of coins like this. So sit back and let us take you on a journey through the details of why the year 2000 penny has turned into such a treasure for numismatists, and why you should always take a second look at the change in your pocket before dismissing it as worthless. Because the world of coin collecting has countless surprises, and one of the most remarkable surprises is how something so small and ordinary can hide extraordinary value, and the 2001 cent valued at $4 million is a perfect example of this phenomenon. Now, the first aspect we need to talk about when analyzing why a coin like the 2000 penny could achieve such a massive value is the role of minting errors, because mint errors are not just small imperfections, they are historical accidents, rare deviations from the intended design and process. And in numismatics, rarity equals value, and errors bring with them a sense of uniqueness. Since no two error coins are exactly the same, collectors worldwide prize them for their rarity and their story. And in the year 2000, during the striking of Lincoln Memorial cents, several different types of mistakes occurred that have since made specific examples stand out, some of which include off-center strikes where the design is visibly shifted, leaving part of the blank planchet exposed. Double die obverse errors were parts of the lettering, such as Liberty, or In God We Trust, or even the date 2000 appear double, creating a shadow-like second impression that can be seen with the naked eye. Broad strike errors where the retaining collar fails, and the coin is struck without proper boundaries, causing it to expand unnaturally while still showing the intended design. And even transitional or wrong planchet errors, where a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or composition, such as cents being struck on dime planchets or foreign coin stock, all of which add layers of rarity and intrigue. Now, while each of these mistakes can on their own make a penny from 2000 worth significantly more than its face value, It is when you have an extraordinary combination of conditions, perhaps an ultra-rare double die obverse paired with exceptional preservation in mint state, that you start entering the territory of life-changing sums like $4 million, because condition also plays a critical role. Collectors and grading services like PCGS and NGC grade coins on a scale from poor to perfect mint state 70, and for a coin to approach multi-million-dollar territory it generally needs to be in the highest possible condition with sharp details, original mint luster, and little to no signs of wear, which makes sense because rarity is amplified by preservation. So when a 2001 cent error coin is found in near perfect condition, it instantly becomes one of the most desirable coins in the world. Another factor that influences why these coins become so valuable is the story they tell, because each error coin is essentially a mistake that slipped through the intense quality control of the United States Mint, and collectors love the idea of owning something that was never meant to exist in the first place, something that is both an official government product and yet an accident. And in the case of the 2000 penny valued at $4 million, you are not only holding a coin, but also holding a piece of history, a conversation piece, and a tangible artifact of a unique moment in the minting process. Now think about the demand. Coin collecting has millions of enthusiasts worldwide, from casual hobbyists to wealthy investors who see rare coins as alternative assets similar to art, fine wine, or rare stamps, and demand for error coins, especially high-profile ones, tends to skyrocket when an example achieves publicity at auction, and auction records push values higher because once a collector pays several million for a unique coin, the precedent is set and others are willing to go even higher to secure the next rarity, which is precisely what happened with earlier pennies like the 1943 copper cent and the 1955 double die cent, coins that set records and brought national attention to error coins, paving the way for coins like the rare 2001 cent to achieve million-dollar status. And if we explore further into the possible types of errors that could account for this value, we can imagine a 2000 penny that was struck on a transitional planchet, perhaps leftover from the late 1990s, when the composition was 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. But occasionally the mint might accidentally use a planchet of older or foreign composition, creating an ultra-rare variant. Or perhaps the coin was struck using misaligned dies that caused dramatic doubling or missing elements, or even struck multiple times creating a dramatic off-center double strike that makes the design look surreal. And the fascination with these anomalies grows because they are so far removed from what is normal, and as every collector knows, rarity plus demand plus condition equals value. And in the specific case of the $4 million $2,000 penny, it is the combination of an exceptional minting error, perfect or near perfect preservation, and heightened demand in the marketplace that has propelled its price to stratospheric levels. Now let's think about the psychology of collecting and why someone would be willing to spend $4 million on a 1-cent coin. At first glance it seems irrational, but collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying history, uniqueness, and bragging rights. They are buying something that no one else has, and in the world of high-end collectibles exclusivity matters more than anything else. Owning the only known example of a 2000 penny with a particular dramatic error is like owning a one-of-a-kind masterpiece, and wealthy collectors who already have everything from rare cars to fine art often turn to coins for the thrill of adding something truly special to their collections, and this is why the market for rare error coins continues to grow. Now let's imagine some specific possibilities. Picture a 2000 penny where the obverse shows a dramatic double die with Liberty clearly doubled, In God We Trust showing a shadow effect, and the date 2000 having a doubled zero that is visible without magnification. Then imagine that same coin struck 20% off-center, expanding the rarity and giving it a surreal artistic look, and finally imagine that it was preserved untouched in a bank roll, never circulated, and later certified at MS-68 or higher by a top grading service. Suddenly you have a perfect storm of uniqueness, condition, an appeal that collectors would fight over at auction, pushing the value into the multi-million-dollar range. Now another scenario could be a 2,000 penny struck on a foreign planchet, perhaps intended for a coin of similar size from another country, because the United States Mint has occasionally produced coins for foreign governments, and planchets sometimes get mixed in, creating incredibly rare off-metal strikes, and examples of these in high grade have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if a 2,000 penny was struck on a rare planchet and discovered in pristine condition, that could also justify the incredible valuation. And as we continue exploring possibilities, we realize that what makes these coins so valuable is not a single factor, but the combination of multiple factors stacking together, and each factor multiplies the rarity. So while an off-center strike alone might only be worth a few $100s, when combined with a double die in perfect condition, it suddenly leaps into thousands, tens of thousands, and then into millions when you add historical importance and collector demand. And the narrative grows with each layer, because collectors love not just the coin itself but the story that surrounds it, and stories of coins that went from being pocket change to multi-million-dollar treasures are what fuel the passion of numismatics, because at the heart of it every collector dreams of discovering a fortune in their change jar, and the 2,000 penny valued at $4 million embodies that dream perfectly. Next, 2001 Lincoln penny. Today, as we dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures that can be found in the most unexpected places, and in this video, we are going to explore the incredible story of the 2001 1-cent coin, a coin that at first glance looks like any ordinary penny, but because of the errors and mistakes it carries, its rarity, its unique attributes, and the excitement it generates among collectors, this 1-cent coin has managed to capture attention across the numismatic community and has been valued at an astonishing $3 million, which makes it one of the most fascinating modern rarities you could ever hope to come across. And as we break down what makes this coin so extraordinary, we will travel through the history of minting, the types of errors and varieties that occurred in 2001, why the Denver Mint became the birthplace of such a treasure, and how collectors and enthusiasts analyze every small detail on a coin to determine whether it is just a face value penny or a multi-million-dollar collectible. And before we get into the specifics of this coin, let's remind ourselves that error coins are among the most highly prized in the collecting world because they represent accidents, anomalies, or moments where the perfection of minting slipped and something unique was produced, something that should not have left the mint, yet did. And because so few exist, demand skyrockets. And when demand meets rarity and historical intrigue, values can soar into the millions. And that is exactly the case with the 2001 1-cent. So let's take a closer look at what happened during its production and why it became so valuable. And to understand this, we need to consider how coins are made at the United States Mint. The process starts with blank planchets being prepared and then struck under high pressure by dies that contain the designs we all recognize. In 2001, the obverse featured Abraham Lincoln's bust, while the reverse still carried the iconic Lincoln Memorial design, but errors in the striking process, die preparation, or planchet composition can lead to remarkable variations, and collectors cherish those mistakes. And the 2001 is infamous for showing a number of possibilities, including double die errors where parts of the design, like the date, mint mark, or letters such as Liberty or In God We Trust, appear doubled. And in some cases, the doubling is so bold and dramatic that it is visible without magnification, which immediately excites collectors because such features are easy to spot and highly rare. But in other cases, the doubling is more subtle and requires closer inspection with a loupe or microscope. And in 2001 some of these doubling effects have been reported, especially on the date and lettering, creating huge buzz in the numismatic world. But doubling is not the only type of error that makes this coin special, because other possibilities include off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned with the planchet and part of the image is missing or shifted. And when this happens on a modern coin and the off-center is dramatic but still shows the date and mint mark, collectors go wild, because it means the coin is both visually striking and still identifiable, and some 2001 cents have been reported with such off-center strikes, making them spectacular in value. And then, there are broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally holds the coin in place, resulting in a flattened, expanded appearance, which again sets it apart from normal circulation coins. And then we have clipped planchet errors where part of the blank is cut away before striking, leaving the coin with a curved missing section, which is a fascinating and obvious error. And in 2001 examples with multiple clipped planchets are especially prized, because they demonstrate extreme minting mishaps. And beyond these striking errors, there is also the possibility of wrong planchet errors, where a cent is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, for instance a dime or a foreign coin blank, and when this occurs the coin not only weighs differently but looks and feels distinct, and those are some of the most valuable errors you can find. So when collectors discovered that certain 2001 cents had anomalies like this, it became clear that these mistakes were not only rare, but also highly sought after. And another important factor that drives the value up is condition, because if a 2001 error cent survived in high grade, showing little to no circulation wear, then its value multiplies exponentially, and certified grading by agencies such as PCGS or NGC can seal the fate of such a coin, because once it's encapsulated and labeled as an authentic mint error in mint state condition, it becomes a trophy for high-end collectors who are willing to pay millions. And that is exactly what happened in this case, as a pristine, dramatic error 2001 penny, carrying unique mistakes, crossed the auction block and was hammered down for $3 million, shocking many but also confirming how incredible the world of rare coins can be. And when you think about it, the allure of such a coin lies not just in the metal or the face value but in the story. The idea that something so ordinary and overlooked could actually be hiding immense wealth, because every pocket change, every jar of pennies sitting in people's homes, could potentially contain such treasures, and it fuels the imagination of treasure hunters and collectors around the globe, making them look at each coin with renewed curiosity. And when it comes to the 2001 cent, experts have pointed out that the Denver Mint that year had an unusually high output, producing billions of pennies, which means errors could slip through due to the sheer volume and pressure of mass production. And although most pennies from 2001 are perfectly ordinary, the few that contain dramatic errors have become legends. And what makes them even more fascinating is the possibility of undiscovered examples still hiding in circulation, waiting for someone to stumble across them. And that dream, that chance, is what keeps collectors and everyday people checking their change. And to dive even deeper into why the value reached $3 million, we need to understand auction psychology. Because when a unique coin like this is offered, wealthy collectors often engage in bidding wars, driving the price far beyond expectations. Because owning something truly one-of-a-kind is not just about the object itself but also about prestige, history, and status in the numismatic community. And so the 2001 cent became more than just a coin, it became a symbol of rarity and perfection in imperfection. And that is why we emphasize that anyone could unknowingly hold a fortune in their hands if they simply pay closer attention. And that's why stories like this are so engaging, because they remind us of hidden treasures, the potential locked inside everyday objects, and the exciting world of collecting that rewards curiosity, patience, and a sharp eye. And as we continue to explore more aspects of this coin, we see that collectors also look for die cracks, die chips, cuds, and other small imperfections that can increase value. For instance, a die crack running across Lincoln's face or the memorial could make the coin stand out, while cuds, which occur when part of the die breaks away, leave a raised blob of metal that collectors find fascinating, and these small imperfections, while subtle, tell the story of the minting process and its flaws. And in the case of the 2001 cent, reports of such errors have surfaced and added to the mystique of this coin. And when these combine with major striking errors, the value skyrockets. And that's exactly why this cent has captivated collectors worldwide. And the broader lesson here is that error coins can be infinitely diverse, with each piece being a unique creation that will never be replicated, making them not just collectibles, but works of accidental art. And when preserved in high grade, they can command staggering prices, just like the $3 million 2001 penny. And it's important to remember that while most of us will never find such a rarity, the possibility always exists. And that makes the hobby so thrilling. So whether you are a seasoned collector or someone who just wants to check the change in your pocket, the story of the 2001 penny should inspire you to look a little closer, to appreciate the details, and to realize that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest value. And as we wrap up the tale of this incredible coin, we can say with confidence that the 2001 cent is a shining example of how mistakes, rarity, and history combine to create a phenomenon worth millions. Next, 1989 Lincoln penny. Get ready to dive deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, because today we are going to explore the unbelievable story of the 1989 1-cent coin, a penny that in certain rare conditions with very specific errors and mistakes has shocked collectors, historians, and numismatists by being valued at an astonishing $10 million. A number that seems surreal when we think about a coin that was originally struck as a simple everyday piece of pocket change. Yet through a combination of historical factors, minting errors, misstrikes, die variations, and collector demand, it has ascended into the category of one of the most valuable coins in the world. And to truly understand why this humble penny has the potential to command such an astronomical value, we need to begin by looking at the context of its creation in 1989, when the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents with the familiar design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been in use since 1959 to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. But what makes some 1989 cents so unique is the presence of extraordinary minting anomalies that make them stand apart from the countless regular issues. And collectors have long known that the smallest difference can make the biggest impact when it comes to value. Because an error coin is not simply a flawed piece of metal, it is a tangible artifact of the minting process gone wrong, an accident preserved in copper-plated zinc that tells a story of machinery, human oversight, and chance. And when we consider the 1989 cent, we find an array of such stories, from double die obverse errors where the inscriptions like "In God We Trust, Liberty," or the date 1989 appear double because the die was improperly hubbed, creating a ghostly second image that can be seen with the naked eye and sends collectors into a frenzy, to off-center strikes where the coin was not seated correctly in the striking chamber and the design is missing partially, sometimes leaving Lincoln's portrait cut in half or shifted dramatically, which transforms an ordinary penny into a dramatic visual oddity that can be worth thousands depending on the degree of the off-center strike. And even more rare are broad strike errors where the collar die fails and the coin spreads out flatter and wider than normal, leaving it looking unusual and instantly recognizable as something special. But even beyond these common categories of mint mistakes, there are certain spectacular anomalies from 1989 that can elevate a coin's value to life-changing levels. For example, transitional errors, which occur when the mint accidentally strikes coins on planchets intended for a different year or composition. And we know that in the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint switched from copper-based cents to copper-plated zinc cents due to rising copper costs. But there were occasional mix-ups where leftover copper planchets were used in later years, And if a 1989 cent were struck on one of these older all-copper planchets instead of the intended copper-plated zinc, it would instantly become a rarity because only a handful could possibly exist, and their discovery would electrify the numismatic community, with auction prices soaring into the millions as collectors and investors compete for ownership of such a piece. And that is one of the key reasons a coin like this could be valued at $10 million, because rarity combined with error combined with collector demand creates a perfect storm of desirability. But we should also consider doubled die reverse errors, where the Lincoln Memorial itself appears doubled, sometimes so clearly that you can see doubled columns or inscriptions like United States of America or 1 cent, showing ghostly repetition, and each of these details becomes a treasure hunt for collectors with magnifying glasses, scouring their pocket change or inherited jars of coins, hoping to stumble across one of these elusive gems. And then there are die cracks and die breaks where the minting dies themselves develop fractures, leading to raised lines or blobs of metal on the finished coin that look like extra features, sometimes dramatically crossing Lincoln's face or appearing like a raised scar across the coin, which numismatists affectionately nickname things like BIE errors. When a crack appears between the letters B and E of Liberty, and these small quirks add layers of collectability, yet another aspect that can elevate value, because the more dramatic the break, the more visually striking the coin. And in the hierarchy of collector enthusiasm, a coin that tells a dramatic story through its appearance always wins higher bids. And when we talk about the possibility of a $10,001,989 penny, we must also remember the role of condition. Because in numismatics, condition is king, and a coin graded by a professional service at the highest levels, such as MS-67, MS-68, or beyond, is exponentially more valuable than a circulated example. And when that high grade is paired with a dramatic error, the value compounds astronomically, which is why auction houses have sometimes seen record-breaking bids for coins that combine rarity, condition, and story. And that story is what makes this fascinating, because the 1989 cent was never meant to be rare. It was mass-produced in the billions. Yet through the quirks of human error, mechanical mishap, and sheer chance, a few slipped through the cracks of perfection, and those few are the treasures we speak of today, the ones that have been authenticated and passed from collector to collector at values that climb higher each time, because in the world of collectibles the market is driven not just by scarcity, but by the allure of owning a piece of history. And imagine the feeling of holding in your hand a penny that might otherwise be overlooked, but which in truth is worth more than a mansion, a yacht, or a sports car. And that is what excites people about stories like this. They ignite the imagination that anyone, anywhere, could find a fortune hiding in plain sight in a drawer or change jar. And that dream fuels the intense competition that drives prices to insane levels, making headlines when a penny fetches millions. And in the case of the 1989 cent, we are not just talking about one kind of error, but a whole constellation of possibilities, from double strikes where the coin was struck twice, leaving overlapping images that create a surreal effect, to wrong planchet errors where a 1989 cent was accidentally struck on a dime planchet or even on a foreign coin planchet, since the U.S. Mint sometimes shared blanks for foreign coinage, and such an error would be immediately obvious because of the wrong size, wrong weight, and misaligned design, making it an instant superstar in the world of errors. And to collectors, the thrill of discovering such a rarity is indescribable. It's the treasure hunt aspect that keeps this hobby alive, and every discovery story adds to the mystique. And as news spreads of a rare find, demand spikes, fueling the market even more. And so when we say a 1989 penny could be worth $10 million, we are really talking about the culmination of all these factors: rarity of the error, dramatic nature of the mistake, historical context, condition, collector demand, and the psychology of owning something no one else has. And when all of those combine into one coin, it becomes priceless. Yet in a market that always seeks numbers, we attach values, And that is how we arrive at these staggering figures, because while to the average person a penny is just a penny, to the seasoned collector it is a potential masterpiece, a relic of minting history, and a key to financial fortune. And this is why discussions of the 1989 cent continue to fascinate, inspire, and spark curiosity in new generations of coin enthusiasts who begin by looking more closely at their own change, learning to identify doubling, off-center strikes, die cracks, planchet errors, and all the other subtle clues that might transform pocket change into treasure. And as they learn, the legend of the 1989 $10 million penny grows, a legend rooted not just in metal but in the human fascination with rarity, error, and the possibility of turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Last 2016 1 cent USA coin. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins where tiny pieces of change can turn into life-changing treasures. And today, we are going to explore one of the most astonishing stories in modern numismatics, the 2016 1 cent coin that has been reported to sell for as much as $6 million because of its remarkable errors and mistakes. A coin that might look ordinary at first glance, but upon closer inspection reveals why collectors and experts are willing to pay astronomical amounts for it. And as we go through this incredible journey, we will unravel the kinds of errors and minting anomalies that make this particular 2016 penny so valuable, the historical background that gives context to its production, the possibilities of how such a coin could have left the U.S. Mint, and why the world of error coins continues to fascinate both casual hobbyists and seasoned numismatists, who understand that imperfections can be more desirable than perfection itself. So let's get started with the story of the 2016 penny and why it could be worth millions. First, we need to understand that the 2016 Lincoln cent was struck at several U.S. Mint facilities including Philadelphia and Denver using modern zinc planchets with a thin copper plating. This composition itself can create interesting mistakes since plating errors, incomplete bonding, or exposed zinc can lead to coins with dramatic visual anomalies. In the case of the $6 million 2016 penny, reports suggest that multiple layers of minting errors converged into one coin, making it unique and extraordinary. Collectors who have examined high-value 2016 cents point to doubled dies, especially in the obverse lettering where Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date 2016 appear with strong doubling visible to the naked eye. Doubled die obverse coins have always attracted huge attention in the numismatic market, with examples like the 1955 doubled die cent or the 1969 S doubled die cent selling for huge amounts. So a modern doubled die with similar prominence immediately sparks intense interest. Now, if that doubled die occurs in conjunction with additional mistakes, the coin's desirability skyrockets. Some of the most valuable error coins are those with multiple anomalies. For example, a coin struck off-center that also shows doubling, or a coin with a wrong planchet strike combined with a dramatic clash. So if the 2016 penny in question was struck off-center by say 50% while still showing a bold doubled die, that alone would make it one of the rarest error combinations. But accounts indicate that this coin may also have involved a transitional or wrong planchet error. Imagine a 2016 penny mistakenly struck on a dime planchet, creating a smaller, thinner coin with Lincoln's portrait but missing part of the design and inscriptions. Such a coin would immediately be classified as a mint rarity. And with collectors paying hundreds of thousands for wrong planchet cents, the fact that this coin might combine wrong planchet with doubling and misstrikes explains why it climbed into the multi-million-dollar range. Another possibility discussed among collectors is that the coin may have been a mule error, where the obverse die of the 2016 cent was accidentally paired with a reverse die intended for a different denomination. Mule coins are among the most valuable errors ever discovered, with famous examples like the 2000 Sacagawea dollar mule paired with a Washington quarter obverse bringing 6 figures at auction. So if a 2016 centennial exists pairing the Lincoln portrait with a reverse of another coin, such as a Roosevelt dime torch design or a Jefferson nickel Monticello building, the result would be an unprecedented mint blunder and a true holy grail for collectors. But beyond these major types of errors, the 2016 penny could also feature more subtle mistakes that contribute to its rarity. Things like die clashes where elements of the reverse design are impressed into the obverse, broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its normal rim creating a larger flan, cap die strikes where one coin sticks to the die and strikes subsequent coins with distorted designs, or multiple strikes where the same coin is struck 2 or 3 times creating overlapping images. All of these possibilities add layers of uniqueness to error coins, and when combined in a single specimen, they create a piece that is not only visually stunning but historically significant, because it shows a failure of mint quality control in the age of advanced technology where mistakes are supposedly rare, making it even more desirable. Let us also consider the psychology and economics behind such high values. Collectors often view rare error coins not just as mistakes, but as works of art produced by chance, each one unique and impossible to replicate, unlike mass-produced perfect coins. An error coin that combines multiple anomalies becomes a one-of-a-kind artifact, and when wealthy collectors compete at auction to own such a piece, the price can escalate into the millions. That's exactly how we reach a valuation like $6 million for a 2016 penny. The rarity of the coin, its combination of dramatic errors, and the bidding wars it sparks among top collectors and institutions. Furthermore, the story of discovery adds to the coin's mystique. Often these kinds of coins are found in pocket change by unsuspecting individuals who suddenly realize they hold something extraordinary. Imagine a person spending or receiving a penny in 2016 only to later discover that it is worth millions because of its unique characteristics. Such stories fuel public fascination and increase demand as more people begin checking their coins, hoping to strike it rich. Another angle that adds to the 2016 penny's value is its connection to the long legacy of Lincoln cents, which began in 1909 and remains one of the most collected coin series in the world, with billions of pennies struck every year. The idea that one single coin from 2016 could break away from the crowd and reach $6 million makes it legendary within the series, similar to how the 1909 SVB or the 1914 D are key dates in the Lincoln series. This modern error takes its place in history not by mintage rarity, but by the sheer uniqueness of its mistakes. It reminds collectors that history is not only in the past, but is still being made with each new minting cycle. Now, when we dive deeper into possible explanations for the 2016 penny's extraordinary value, we must discuss die varieties, because even within a single year multiple die varieties exist as dies wear down, crack, or are replaced. Some 2016 cents have been reported with die breaks creating raised lines or cut errors where a piece of the die breaks off leaving a blob-like feature on the coin. Collectors love dramatic die breaks especially when they intersect with key design elements such as Lincoln's face or the lettering A. Full cut covering part of the rim and inscriptions could turn a normal penny into a very desirable error. Now imagine this combined with a strong double die, an off-center strike, and possibly a wrong planchet. The layering effect makes the coin exponentially more valuable. Another fascinating possibility is misalignment of dies, where the obverse and reverse designs do not properly align, creating a coin that looks rotated or shifted when flipped. Rotated die errors of 90 or 180 degrees are among the most dramatic and collectible mistakes. So if the $6,002,016 penny also displays a rotated die in addition to other errors, it would be unparalleled in modern minting history. Also, we must not ignore plating issues specific to post-1982 cents, which are composed of zinc cores with copper plating. Sometimes the plating bubbles, peels, or fails to cover parts of the planchet properly, leading to exposed zinc areas that corrode differently from copper, creating visually dramatic coins. A 2016 penny with peeling copper exposing large areas of zinc along with a major strike error would look bizarre and rare, further justifying a multi-million-dollar price. The provenance of the coin also plays a role in valuation. If the coin has been authenticated and graded by a major third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC and encapsulated with a high grade such as Mint State 65 or higher, the certification boosts collector confidence. And if the coin has appeared in major auctions like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, its fame grows and prices rise with each public sale. Documented auction history showing previous million-dollar results only adds to the momentum that pushes the coin's value even higher. But let's also reflect on the symbolic aspect, the fact that a 1-cent coin